Hey everybody, it's Sam from Wrestling Overtime with your Raves, Rants review of Impact Wrestling from May 12th, 2020. Now, as you guys have known, one of the listeners wrote in to wrestlingovertime at gmail.com and asked, why do you not do reviews of Impact Wrestling? And I guess it's been 2 weeks now. I have been trying Impact Wrestling. I'm going to be real honest with you. I said that I would give it a month. So I've watched 2 episodes. And the people that I mostly hear about when you talk about Impact Wrestling are Tessa Blanchard, Michael Eglin, Sami Callihan, and Ken Shamrock. Now, while I've gotten to know and see other wrestlers, those 4 are the ones that I thought I would see on a regular basis, that I would really want to see their storylines and what Impact was actually doing with them. Wanted to get involved. Well, I started on night 2 of Rebellion, and I got to see Michael Eglin wrestle. I saw a replay, or a semi-replay, of the Ken Shamrock Sami Callihan match from the week before, but I haven't seen them wrestle. And Tessa Blanchard, according to Impact Wrestling, the show every week, she's still in Mexico. So I'm not sure how far in advance Impact taped. So I don't know how long Tessa's going to be in Mexico for Impact Wrestling TV. It's just kind of been disappointing. So as I get ready to watch tonight's show, I'm hoping that I can see some of their storylines start to emerge. Because at Rebellion 2, a lot of their storylines either were supposed to end or they were changing into other programs. So they start off tonight's episode with Madman Fulton versus Hernandez in the first round of the number 1 contenders tournament. Now, I've been following this storyline. Tessa Blanchard needs a number 1 contender, so they have a tournament of 8 people where they are making that decision. So tonight's episode is the first round of that tournament. Well, I'm thinking the underlying story of this particular match is that Madman Fulton belongs to the OVE, and their leader, Sami Callihan, has recently left them. And there's a leadership void kind of at the top. So it looked like in the beginning of this match that Madman wants to be the new leader of OBE. He and Hernandez were physically pretty well matched, and they showed off their power to each other in the beginning of the match. Then Fulton quickly took over and looked like he was wanting to wear down Hernandez. And then Dave Christ started getting involved. And some of the stunts that both Dave Christ and his brother pulled I really thought there was going to be a disqualification. And I think almost in another promotion, there definitely would have been a disqualification. So was a little unsure of that. But Hernandez, who is an original member of LAX, ended up hitting the big splash for the win, and he is actually going to take on the winner of the Ken Shamrock versus Rhino first round match. They didn't say when this would take place, but I'm kind of going to make an assumption that it's supposed to take place next week. I'm not sure. And then we get a Michael Elgin promo, which, like I did in the opening of this episode, I am pretty excited about. I'm hoping that he gets involved in a storyline somehow. So Elgin says that Impact Management has really screwed him again. That he should be the number one contender, and by having this number one contender tournament, that it is really messing with him. He was the only person to show up for the World Championship title match at Rebellion, and he still believes that he should have been awarded the title that night, even though Tessa could not travel due to the travel bans. And he said in order to get people to notice and to get management to see that they've just screwed him over, he's going to start sending people to the hospital, that he's tired of this. So then we go backstage, and we see that Madman Fulton and the Chris brothers are upset about the match. Jake is trying to calm both Fulton and Dave Chris down because they're arguing and fighting. Well, they're interrupted by Crazy Steve. Now, I've heard some about Crazy Steve because his contract was up and different promotions were looking at him, but I don't know a whole lot about him. I see that he, has got the makeup on, and his personality that he is portraying obviously is crazy. But he has the nerve to tell the three of them that OVE is OVER. And Jake warns him that Dave's going to take him out next week. So I guess we're going to get a Dave Christ versus Crazy Steve match next week. Around the corner, Joseph P. Ryan, which has confused me because he's Joey Ryan, but because he switched up his gimmick and is now a part of the cancer culture, said that Steve should not be using the C word, meaning crazy, because it is very offensive to people. And so I found that a little amusing. I am thinking that the new Joseph P. Ryan gimmick is growing on me a little bit. Then we see Callie Ray versus Tasha Steele. Tasha Steele is the new, up-and-comer that Impact has signed. And Smiling Callie pretty much stayed in control this whole entire match. This, to me, looked like a typical build-up match for Callie. She looked like she didn't want to punish her opponent in 1 to 2 minutes and beat her, but the match was never really in jeopardy either. So I'm looking for a storyline to come any day for her to get involved in some kind of program. I just don't know yet who that's going to be with. She ended up locking on her submission move, the STTF, in for the win. And then we got a Rohit Raju promo. He impressed me a little bit last week with how he conducted himself and how he looked in the ring. He has the look of probably an X Division person, and I know that he has been wrestling for a little while, but it looks like he possibly could be breaking through. But in his promo, he says that he's tired of all of the disrespect that he's getting from the fans and the management. Well, from this fan, he's not getting any disrespect. Like I said, to me, he looked good, last week. But he says that he had to fight in order to be a part of the number 1 contenders tournament. That Moose actually had to turn down being in the tournament for him to even have a place in it. And I understand that. I understand why he would be upset and why they gave him a promo to air that, since he's got a match later, tonight. Then backstage, we see Kylie Ray, who's walking and runs into Susie. And Susie compares her to Sunshine. What? What is up with that? I understand that, that's part of her nickname and her gimmick is that she's Smiling Kylie. But Sunshine, I'm not getting that. I don't know this Susie character. Not real sure where they're going with that. Are these two going to end up being friends, or was Susie being sarcastic and I didn't pick up on it, or exactly what's going on with them? I'm not 100% sure. And then we get Kimberly versus Havoc. Like I told you guys last week, I was familiar with Havoc from WoW, the world of women wrestling. So I know her gimmick. Then last week we saw Kimberly come in to the locker room talk that Havoc was a guest on and kind of challenge her. So I was interested in learning a little more about Kimberly. Havoc threw Kimberly around early pretty bad, and she hammered her with a lot of elbows. Kimberly sold them pretty well and looked pretty good doing it. I'll tell you what, Havoc's sit-down powerbomb is absolutely vicious. But for the second time, Nevaeh was over in the corner watching Havoc. And even though while commentating, Madison Rayne is hinting that Havoc and Nevaeh have a past and something went on, she's not really telling us the whole story, though. And when people kind of mention it to Havoc, Havoc just shuts down. So this becomes a distraction for Havoc. And while she is getting distracted and the referee is telling her to, start back into the match, Kimberly had pulled out a set of brass knuckles, and she hit Havoc with pretty good right punch and pinned her. So, little interesting as far as Kimberly getting a win, but I think the storyline that we really need to watch is Nevaeh. Who is she? Is she a wrestler? Is she maybe an ex-manager? What exactly is her role in Havoc's life? But how does Madison Rayne know about it? And how is she going to play into it, or is she? Then we get the same video package that we had last week about Kiera Hogan. And no one is mentioning when she's actually going to debut or show up, so I guess we'll continue looking for her, I guess. Now, it had been advertised last week about this week's Locker Talk, and I was kind of a little excited. Locker Room Talk is with Johnny Swinger and Madison Rayne. And the guest this week was Ken Shamrock. And like I said in the beginning, that was one of the people I want to see. I want to hear from. I want to see storylines built around and everything. So Ken Shamrock comes in, and of course, he runs into Johnny Swinger right at the beginning and kind of scares him. Johnny Swinger ends up leaving to get Ken Shamrock a protein drink. So Madison opens up the interview with talking to Ken Shamrock about Sami Callihan. Shamrock says he's done with Sami Callihan and that Moose has actually been the best talent that he has seen and taken on so far. And that he came back to Impact in order to win the Impact World title. As he says that, Michael Elgin busts in, nailing him with a chair, and then set him up for a concerto, which is with the chair over you, and then Michael Elgin taking another chair and basically smashing you into a chair sandwich with your neck and head area. It's the move that Randy Orton did to Edge in WWE about 2 months ago. So this leads me to believe, even though they're on opposite sides of the bracket for the number one contenders match, Impact may be setting this up as the final. Or maybe Ken Shamrock doesn't want to be a part of this tournament and they're going to use an injury angle to get him out of it. Not sure which. But I find it really weird that right after we get a Sami Callihan promo, Sami looks like he's in this dark man cave computer room area. And he starts talking about how Michael Elgin, and he keeps calling him Big Mike, fails at everything he does. And Sami says that he's going to beat him in the tournament. He also can't believe what Elgin just did to Ken Shamrock. And he says he's not finished with Shamrock at all. He doesn't know what Shamrock's talking about. And next week, Sami's going to be against Elgin in the number one contenders tournament, and I definitely want to watch that episode. You guys have got me turned on enough about Impact that I want to see this Michael Elgin Sami Callihan match. I want to see how good that is. Well, then the next match we get is Rohit Raju versus Trent, and this is also in the first round of the number one contenders tournament. I thought this was a really good match. It actually was probably, in my opinion, the best match of the night. I liked the speed of it. And I'll tell you what, I was really impressed with Trey. I hadn't paid a whole lot of attention to him, but he's definitely could be a star in the sport with, the right storyline and maybe another big enough star to make him known. But Trey controlled most of this match, and like I said, I thought he was impressive. I really liked his style. Now, Raju kept coming through and was very, very, very aggressive. But Trey ended up getting him with a small package roll-up to move on in the tournament, and he will take on the winner of the Sami Callihan-Michael Elgin match. Then we go up north for the North. I like the North. I didn't think I would. I had heard, not really heard, had read, I guess, a little bit about them in, different internet articles and internet sites and stuff like that. But I tell you what, after seeing them and actually finding out that Ethan Page was a member of this group, I am a fan of the North. Their storyline is obviously that they have been caught up in Canada with the travel band, and they have decided that since they're up there, they might as well wrestle, and they're going to defend, their tag team titles. So they are taking on the Smos this week. I can't tell you how funny this was. I absolutely love Ethan Page. I think he is the right amount of cocky and funny at the same time. I like Josh Alexander playing almost the straight man with him and reacting to his different jokes and hoaxes that he comes up with. The North ended up killing the Smos, basically. They hit the Absolute North for the win. I'm just waiting for when they can bring them back down to Impact and then take on a real wrestling team so that I can see how that goes. I don't know what to think of Rosemary. We go to the bar, and Rosemary, of course, is back at the bar, missing Tyra Valkyrie, and she's talking to, I thought it was a rabbit at first, but then she called it a dog, so I'm guessing it was like a stuffed animal that was a dog. Because Johnny Bravo says, wait a minute, that's my Mr. Mundo dog. And he says that Rosemary took it because she's missing Valkyrie and how he misses her too. And he talks about how the stuffed animal smells like her. Well, as he goes to leave, Rosemary, I don't know whether she got a premonition or another personality talked to her, not real sure, but she says, oh no, not him. And so I'm wondering now, is Johnny Bravo going to be Rosemary's next target? Is she going to somehow go after him next? Then we get Chris Bay talking to Johnny Swinger. And he's basically spreading rumors that Willie Mack has been talking about Johnny Swinger. Supposedly Mike is saying that he was the actual star of the tag team of Johnny Swinger and Willie Mack. Well, Johnny Swinger takes off and goes to confront Willie Mack. He tells him that he wants a shot at the X Division Championship. And Mike says, no problem, we'll do it next week. And I just thought that was weird. I don't know why Chris Bay was involved in this. I'm not sure what makes Johnny Swinger think that he can beat Willie Mack for the X Division Championship. And I'm definitely not sure why Willie Mack took Johnny Swinger serious whatsoever, because I don't know that anyone takes Johnny Swinger serious. Just a weird storyline to me. Then we get the main event. This definitely was the second best match of the night. I don't really get the whole storyline. So if anybody can explain the TNA World Championship and how and why Moose has it, you guys need to write me at wrestlingovertime@gmail.com, because I don't understand that. From what they've said, in this being the third week that I've watched, the TNA World Championship, I guess, was brought out for a special pay-per-view. And Moose somehow got it. I don't know whether it was in storage or it was in an office, it was laying around, but somehow Moose got it, and now he believes, because he has taken on a lot of the original old TNA wrestlers, that he deserves to be the champion now. So I'm not real sure about this. However, I think I told you guys in one of the previous episodes, I have been impressed with Suicide. I know that different wrestlers at different times have portrayed Suicide, so it's not always the same wrestler. And I also was looking around, and it doesn't seem like anyone knows for sure who Suicide is right now. But I'll tell you what, Suicide, at the start of this match, really showed off his quickness and skill. Now, Moose started taking over a little bit by using his power. And it was really back and forth until Moose ran into the referee and knocked him out. He was climbing up on a ring post, and Suicide jumped up and actually hit him with a code breaker. He pins Moose for, I don't know, about 5 seconds. But where the referee was knocked out, there was no one to count. Suicide went over to revive the referee. So as the referee is getting their wits about them and getting back in the ring and everything, Moose hit Suicide with a low blow that, of course, the ref didn't see. And then Moose hit the no jackhammer needed to put Suicide away for the win in order to keep his TNA World Championship title. Like I said, am not sure where they're going with the TNA World title. I think it's a good idea because the Impact World title is right now in limbo, with Tessa being gone and not being able to defend it. Plus, it's allowing the number one contenders tournament to take place. So I understand that it's kind of like a placeholder, and I think it's pretty interesting. I think at some point they're going to have a TNA Impact World Championship unification match. But I'm sure that that's, a lot more down the line. I am enjoying Impact. I don't know that Impact is one of the top promotions. I don't know that Impact is at the level of WWE, AEW, and New Japan. Not right now. It seems to be at the caliber, though, of Ring of Honor, MLW, and NWA. I might put NWA, besides Nick Aldis, a little below those three. Impact is a nice minor league, I guess, promotion. Almost like an NXT was. And I kind of like it. The storylines that they're coming up with, they're not bad. If they would take some of these storyline ideas and put them in WWE, WWE would be a lot better, I'll tell you that, because that's where they're lacking. They are lacking a lot. So, if anybody knows Vince McMahon, or, hey Vince, if you're listening to this episode, you probably need to go hire some of the Impact writers for WWE Creative and actually listen to them. Because, like I said, their storylines right now are better than WWE's. But to the fan that wrote me and said, hey, try out Impact, I really do appreciate you for opening my eyes up to this promotion, because I had kind of wrote them off. Every once in a while, I would tune in, like I said, to see Sami Callihan and Tessa, but that was about it. I really do appreciate that. Something else that I appreciate is you. I do appreciate you guys that are listening. Thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it. Hope all of you are subscribing to Wrestling Overtime so that you can get the latest episodes and news and updates. I really, really do appreciate it. I hope that all of you guys are rating and reviewing at Podchaser. I know several of you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts and that you like to rate and review on there, but the only people that can see them are the people that use Apple Podcasts. However, if you rate and review over at Podchaser, then anyone can see them. As always, if you have any questions, comments, problems, or protests, feel free to write me. Write me at wrestlingovertime@gmail.com or hit me up on our Twitter page. Love to discuss stuff on Twitter. And check out our Wrestling Overtime Facebook page, where we are posting latest articles that not only I'm writing, but from publications all over the internet, any kind of shows that are going live, we're trying to get links and posting those over on Wrestling Overtime's Facebook page. So make sure that you check that out. And I will be talking to you guys soon. Thank you very much.